Hello everyone, this is part 39 of What If Naruto Was Like Edward Elric in Fullmetal Alchemist, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Where the hell are the runt, his girl, and the old man Sarutobi? Joshiro said irritably as he sat inside of the living room of their rendezvous point. He, Aiko, and Zabuza had made their way from the plains of Tsuchi no Kuni all the way back to the edge of Hai no Kuni, in particular to a small little town that no one living far away would know of if you had asked them the name of the place. We've been in Resemble for almost a week and a half. How has he not caught up yet? Did he get himself K? Winry walked into the room with a sour look on her face directed at the de facto leader of the whole motley crew that sat in her house. Wow, way to believe in your little brother Joshiro. How inspirational, she said in a dry tone. Joshiro grumbled as he slumped impatiently in his seat. I'm just saying, he's been gone for too long. He should have been the first one of us out of to get here. I mean, he can fly. He then blinked and decided to change talking points. Thanks for putting up with us for a bit until we could all meet up. By the way, I'm pretty sure this is putting the squeeze on you and Pinnacle. It's no trouble, Winry insisted before pointing upstairs. All your teammates do is really sleep, and the guy with the giant sword isn't bad once you get past the scary looking part. Zabuza is a teddy bear, Joshiro said, getting a threatening growl from the former Kiri ninja, and Aiko, I really don't think that sleeping is what they're doing up there. He saw red tinge Winry's cheeks as she got the gist of what he was saying. Yeah, why do you think neither of us have tried going up there yet? I don't need to walk in on that. XXX. Konohagakure no Sato, Hokage Tower. Naruto had been gone for over a week. He had given the slip to everyone sent after him, as did the group that had gone with him. Of course, with Hiruzen Sarutobi being one of them, it was not a stretch at all to believe that they completely covered their tracks. Today, however, the rest of Team 7 had been called to Tsunde's office for something. Sasuke didn't know how to feel. Naruto left the village the same way he had years earlier. Granted, Naruto had a better reason for leaving than he did, but he still left without permission. Hell, he was explicitly told not to leave and he still went. He never even spoke to any of them, didn't come to him or Sakura once about it. And Sakura had been a wreck since she had found out that he had gotten away. They both entered the office along with a serious Kakashi, all hoping for positive news of some sort. What they got was a grave-looking Jiraiya and a pale Tsunade, as she seemed to have something that made her lose the color in her face. Thank you all for coming here so quickly. News has just come in and I think you of all people would need to hear this before it breaks worldwide and everyone else hears about it. Kakashi took this moment to speak up. Obviously this is about Naruto. He got a nod from Tsunade. Is he still alive? Going into Iwagakure with only a handful of ninja was AS mission, and there was no way he was leaving without the reason that he came in the first place. He either got Akiza out or S trying. We don't know, Tsunade replied honestly. Sasuke chimed in at this point. Wait, you don't know? Well, what happened? Did they capture him? With his bounty he expected Iwagakure to throw a parade over catching Naruto. If that was the case, then he was definitely alive, but not for much longer. Tsunade shook her head, not knowing how to explain what she knew. They definitely didn't capture him. The remnants of Team 7 looked at her expectantly, waiting on her to explain what happened if he hadn't been captured. Iwagakure didn't capture Naruto because there is no Iwagakure any longer. There isn't a single living soul in all of Iwa whatsoever. Jiraiya noted the confused looks on their faces and decided to add his own touch to the explanation. If you were to head to that village right now, you wouldn't find a single living person whatsoever. Whatever happened, Naruto is no longer there, neither is Akiza, and every living person in Iwagakure from the civilians to the Tsuchikage himself is S. One of the 5 great shinobi villages has been eradicated and no one knows how it was done. Sakura gasped and Sasuke crossed his arms as he tried to take all of this in. And you're saying that Naruto got away? Jiraiya ran a hand through his hair. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. There were signs of battle and everything, but the bee there just seemed to be sleeping. There weren't any wounds on most of them. In a matter of hours every hidden village in the world will know about this. There's a huge vacuum of power in our society, and this is definitely the most important event that has occurred that I can ever think of. His face was seemingly stuck in a perma frown. The fact that Naruto seems to be at the center of this isn't too much of a relieving thought. Anything could have done it, Tsunade said, directing attention back to herself. It could have been the Akatsuki, or it could have been Naruto himself. Sakura abruptly spoke up. Naruto can't destroy an entire hidden village. There was no way that her friend, her teammate, could do something like that. An entire village of lives ended just like that. Tsunade shook her head to dispute Sakura's argument. You don't know what I know about the alchemy that Naruto and his brother use. Naruto's brother Joshiro destroyed an entire base of Orochimaru's with his alchemy. Who's to say that there couldn't be more done with it? It's an unexplored art except for the two of them. But to have that much power, Kakashi mused, thinking of just what could have occurred in the fallen hidden village. What do you think will happen now? There was a balance, and Iwa was important to that balance. Tsunade had a deep frown on her face. I can only imagine Kakashi. And what I'm thinking of is very scary. We need to find him. Sasuke suddenly snapped. He was sick of everyone in the room dancing around it. He was sick of everyone avoiding it. Naruto was somewhere out there. If they wanted answers as to just what happened there, then he needed to be located. Send me, send us. I'll head out right now. He more or less pleaded with the Hokage. Sakura put a hand on the upset Uchiha's shoulder to try and calm him down. Sasuke-kun, settle down. Getting upset isn't going to do anything for anyone. Tsunade thought about it and turned towards Jiraiya. Do you want to go look for him too? Jiraiya shook his head. I really doubt that Naruto wants to look anywhere near me right now. Remember what I did before he left. If anyone should look, it should just be his team. Tsunade nodded and looked back towards Kakashi. So do you think you can find him, Kakashi? Kakashi took a moment to think. Naruto wouldn't stay in Tsuchi no Kuni after what he had done, nor would he come home. Who knew where they boy would go? Add on to the fact that with his flight capabilities Naruto could switch from conserved moving to all-around globetrotting in a heartbeat, and it would be the rundown from hell for even the very best tracker ninja. But it was still his student. Absolutely Hokage-sama, Kakashi said with the utmost confidence. Now that Tsuchi no Kuni was destroyed, that land was more or less wide open. Shinobi from all over the world would be all over the countryside before the end of the week. There would be no reason for them to not be there themselves if that were the case. Iwagakure itself is the best place to start from. Tsunade nodded. This will be an S-rank mission. Find Naruto Uzumaki and return him to Konoha. XXX. What? A shadowy figure said as a multitude of astral projections appeared around him. His ripple pattern eyes were locked in a glare due to the news he had just been told. Repeat yourself if you wouldn't mind, Zetsu. A man with a body surrounded by a Venus flytrap opened his mouth to speak before he was see off by a projection of Deodara. I flew over the place myself, Leader Sama. It's no joke, Iwagakure is gone and the two Jinchuriki have been killed in battle. Han and Roshi. This was terrible news to their plans. The Gobi and the Yonbi Jinchuriki were killed. This went along with the Sanbi that had been killed 2 years prior, and it still hadn't resurfaced yet, if it ever even would. And now there were 2 more in the exact same situation. They only had 3 Biju and 3 more were gone. 3 members of Akatsuki had been defeated to go along with the other problems. I want to know what happened. The shadowy Akatsuki leader almost growled out. It was that alchemy. Alchemy had done the job that he had needed all of the Biju for. His super weapon to terrorize the villages, Itachi, kiss him. The Yonbi was to be your target. You two will head to Iwa and try to find any information of worth that we need to know. Yes, Leader Sama. The 2 corresponding shinobi said before their projections phased out of existence, followed by all of the others as well. Left alone with his thoughts, the leader of Akatsuki began speaking to himself. The power to destroy an entire hidden village leaving no survivors, such a power in the hands of a mortal is a slight against God. A slight against me, he finished darkly. XXX. Hi no Kuni, resemble, Rockbell House. Knock knock knock. Joshiro jumped up and sprinted to the door upon hearing the forceful knock and swung the door wide open, immediately tearing into the figure that he saw there. It's about time you showed up. What the hell happened to you? He then noticed the stern look on Naruto's face, the lack of Akiza anywhere with him, and more importantly the figure behind him on the porch laying down, covered in pure white sheets. Joshiro took notice of all these things and sighed. You're a clone, aren't you? The white-haired, red-eyed Junin asked. Got it in one, big boss. Naruto clone said as the man that had helped take care of him as a little boy stepped outside and shut the door behind him, leaving just them outside by themselves. There's some things you need to know. Joshiro couldn't tear his eyes away from the figure with its body covered. He already knew who it was, but the tears pricking at his eyes didn't want to accept that as a fact. That's the old man, isn't it? That's Sarutobi. Naruto clone nodded grimly and spoke in what sounded like a hollow voice. Aha, I saw the Shiki Fujin seal on his belly and the Tsuchikage right there by his body. He used it and took him out. Tough old man was better than all of us, Joshiro muttered, fondly remembering the Sandaime Hokage before switching back to business mode. This was a clone, not the real Naruto. Where the hell was the real Naruto and why wasn't he there? The fear was creeping in his mind. Where's the runt himself? Don't tell me Akiza. No. The clone immediately said, see him off, boss got Akiza-chan out of that hellhole in one piece. That's not why he didn't come here himself, big boss, it's because he's not coming home. Ever. Joshiro's eyes snapped wide open at hearing the clone of his little brother say what he had just told him. Naruto wasn't coming back to Konoha. What the hell did that mean? Joshiro took a step forward almost desperately. He's not coming back. What do you mean he's not coming back? Why isn't he coming back? He got the girl, he kept his head on his shoulders. Where else is he supposed to go? Naruto clone shook its head. Big boss, we messed up. It said, sounding a little distraught and hiding it badly, as if the walls were about to come down. We messed up bad. The plan worked, even our backup plan. The shock at hearing that news almost made Joshiro's knees give out. They used the backup plan. That meant, you turned Iwa into a philosopher's stone. He exclaimed loudly. He knew that would be the end result, but to hear that he had actually gone through with it in order to ensure Akiza's survival was just staggering. Well, runt, I don't know what to say. Neither do we, the clone said before turning around and taking a seat on the stairs, seeming to hesitate on what to say next. Big boss, when you made your stone, did you have any extra luggage in your mind? Joshiro sat down next to Naruto clone on the stairs and shook his head no, putting a frown on the clone's face. Boss didn't think so either, and you said that the stones are made of souls, so that only means. The clone took on a look of horror. Joshiro poked the clone in the head. What's wrong? Naruto clone softly whispered out a reply. Boss was the center of the transmutation and Akiza-chan was touching him. Due to being one of the only two people in the world who could possibly comprehend what that meant, Joshiro's heart nearly stopped. He was the center. That means that I'm the stone, Naruto clone revealed grimly. That's why those souls are in my head, and Akiza-chan, oh number. Not that, thinking about what Naruto had just done to Akiza made the clone feel physically ill. Akiza-chan was holding on to me and lived. She's in the same boat as me, big boss. Joshiro ran a hand through his white hair, absently reminding himself to check for any grays later. It just never got any simpler with his runt, did it? He could only imagine how complicated it was to be Naruto himself. When you F up, you certainly don't half-er it, do you, runt? He said in a mock-impressed manner, setting a hand on the clone's shoulder. Congratulations, you and your girlfriend are now the living embodiments of a philosopher's stone made of more than 50,000 people. You don't even know, Naruto clone said. There are some things I need to tell you right now. Flashback, with Naruto, cave hideout in Kawa no Kuni. He hadn't stopped moving until he reached the borders of Kawa no Kuni. He wanted to at least put an entire country between himself and the havoc he caused in Iwa. Having to bury an entire village's worth of people that he himself would probably never leave him. And now he had finally taken the time to learn just what he had managed to do to himself. This is what QB wanted him to come into his mind to see. The second they stopped moving, Naruto had a swiftly recovered Akiza use the little amount of Fuinjutsu knowledge he had managed to get her out of base necessity to unseal what Jiraiya had done to him, and the second she did, he didn't even need to go into his mind to discover what QB wanted him to know of. Souls. Thousands of souls raging inside of his body at how their new fate had transpired, and Naruto couldn't make out QB's voice in the noise. Naruto turned towards Akiza, noting her to be quite normal at the moment, and chose to speak to her about this. Akiza-chan, do you have any voices in your head right now? Akiza nodded and tapped her temple, always Fullmetal. Seki Kiritateru has taken hundreds of lives and a lot of the time those lives try to drive me insane during my battles. I told you that. Her face then twisted into a frown, but right now they're so loud. It must be because I just rebonded with the weapon. That's not it, Naruto said, flinching when Akiza's head snapped towards him suddenly, wondering how he knew if he even knew at all. When I said I'd become a monster in Iwa, that was because I'd kill so many people, but there's a new reason now. He hesitantly put a hand on his sea and clutched it tightly. Now I have the souls of half of Iwa's people inside of me. He ignored Akiza's owlish gaze to finish his statement. The other half of them are in you. Being told that over 25,000 souls were taking up residence inside of your body was, to say the least, the verbal equivalent of a punch to the stomach. Akiza began hyperventilating until she was able to bite down on her fist to calm herself down. Naruto just solemnly waited for her to do so, eventually occurring several minutes later. What does this all mean? Naruto just turned towards her, his blue eyes seeming more hollow than she had ever remembered seeing them in the past. I need to explain just what a philosopher's stone is and does, because both you and I are pretty much philosopher's stones now, but I need to go into my mind and find Kyubi-chan now too. I'm going to. Akiza insisted, confusing Naruto and forcing her to explain. I'm so used to having to settle my own mind with my berserk weapon that I can actually do the same for someone else if they let me. We have to be very close though. In more ways than one in this case. Naruto just stared at her before finally nodding, letting Akiza do as she wished when she climbed over his lap and sat in between his legs, allowing him to wrap his arms tightly around her. Whatever this all means, Fullmetal, we're in this together, because you're all I have. She said, closing her eyes and taking deep breaths with Naruto doing the same. Now Fullmetal, bare your heart to me. And with that, the waking world was no longer relevant for the moment. XXX. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto stood in an open field with rolling hills all about, impressing the girl with the state his mind was in. Wow, Fullmetal, I've heard of having a beautiful mind, but this is amazing. My own doesn't even look like this, she freely admitted, taking time to enjoy the nature. The nature was one of the main reasons she enjoyed living in Konoha so much more than Iwa in the first place. Naruto looked around, not seeing any souls like what he had been hearing yet. I made it this way a long time ago to make my relationship with Kyubi-chan more cordial. It broke down the wall of sorts that was between us. Now how would I find her here? She's usually right in front of me. Akiza put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. You have to isolate one soul in particular that you want to find. You never had to do that before because all you've ever had in you was one. I have dozens inside of me. Just think of the Kyubi and she will appear. It's that simple. Naruto nodded and shut his eyes, focusing on the familiar feeling he had become accustomed to when he was in his mind or using Kyubi's chakra. Wow, I guess you really do have thousands of souls in you now. He heard Akiza mutter, prompting him to open his eyes, finding himself standing in front of Kyubi, who was smiling at him sadly. Good to see you up close and personal again, Naruto-kun. Unfortunately, she trailed off and pointed behind him, getting Naruto to turn around and see a massive wave of people, citizens of Iwa, glaring at him from the distance of 100 yards away. All I had to do was transform into my true form and terrorize them a bit to get them to back off from me. They don't have any weapons or ninjutsu in here to fight with. They're basically powerless. Akiza let out a sigh of relief. That meant that Naruto couldn't be possessed the way she could by the souls in her. The Seki Kiritateru was their medium with which to do so. Without it, when she was awake, there was nothing that she couldn't block out. But that meant that if Naruto thought the voices were bursome, there was no way to make them subside the way she could. That could drive a weaker man insane. So can you explain what the Philosopher's Stone is all about, Fullmetal? She asked. Naruto never took his eyes off of his soul's newest inhabitants as he did just that. The Philosopher's Stone is created by transmuting the souls of living humans, meant to bypass the limits of equivalent exchange set in the basic rules of alchemy. It makes it so that I can do things that would normally be impossible, and turn my more difficult transmutations into something easy, since I've already more than paid the price for any transmutation I would or could attempt. How? Akiza asked. Kyubi stayed silent as she already knew. She and Naruto had been over the merits of his ability again and again for years by this point. This was more or less something of a review for her. Naruto simply pointed at all of the souls that were still staring in the distance. I've already paid the price thousands of times over. A human soul is more precious than any earthly thing I could possibly try to use to make any transmutation work. That was the reason that human transmutation was. Naruto quickly shut his mouth and snapped his eyes over towards Kyubi. What? Kyubi asked him, wondering why her Jinchuriki was more or less staring a hole right through her. What's the matter, Naruto-kun? You were explaining everything to your mate. Why'd you stop? Mate, Akiza said, thrown off by the blunt labelization of her relationship with Naruto. Naruto walked up to Kyubi and grabbed her cheeks. I can get you out now, he whispered, shocking her into gasping. She gaped like a fish, forcing him to step in and explain, I can make you an actual body, I can stick your soul into the body itself, and I have all of your chakra. I can just put that into a body too, or I could just let you out. Akiza s Naruto on the back of the head, stupid. What do you mean you're going to give her all of your chakra? Didn't you say that if you had Kyubi extracted from you that you would like Gaara did? Naruto rubbed the back of his head with a dry look on his face and pointed at the amassed souls that inhabited his body now, and what exactly does that mean? It means that we're immortal, Naruto said bluntly, getting Akiza to step back. Naruto lifted his arms and let them drop limply. There it is. I was trying to find a way to tell you that we were, but that's the story of it. We're immortal. How? Akiza couldn't possibly comprehend this. Everything else she was barely on board for, but this. One day she was sentenced to death and was waiting to be E, and the next she would now never be able to S. What kind of person could just accept that? It was insane. Naruto frowned. This entire art is a process that was initially undertaken by a man that was backed by Orochimaru, the guy that switches B for his immortality. This is obviously why Big Boss's dad kept the information of alchemy from him. That slimy F would have S the first major village he came across in a heartbeat if he had known about this. Kyubi had been placed in the background of the conversation for long enough. Hey. You said you could get me out. How in the hell could you ever do that? She asked him frantically. Naruto grinned. Well, I could just L the damn seal off and that would be that. Won't that destroy your body too? Akiza asked before paling. And mine, since chances are when you do it I'll be right there with you. Naruto shrugged. I don't think you're wrapping your head around this whole we can't thing. If my body gets torn apart then it'll just reform out of necessity. If you S me in the seal live, if you see my head off I'll just form another one in 5 seconds, and it'll keep doing that until we run out of souls to use. He put his hand on his chin. The thing is though that I'd run out of souls way before you would though, if you ever even would. Akiza narrowed her eyes at him. Then teach me alchemy. And I don't want to hear your S, it would take too much time because it's not your formulative discipline, speech. I don't think time really matters at this point anymore. You already taught me the basic concepts of it, just give me the practical training. She's right, you know. Kyubi chimed in. If the girl wanted to learn alchemy just so that she didn't have to outlive Naruto for eternity then that was a plus for Akiza in her book. Naruto pointed at Kyubi with a shaky finger. You be quiet. I can just keep you trapped her you know. Kyubi gave him a S look, eventually getting Naruto to drop his finger. Yeah, you're right, I wouldn't do that after all of the stuff we've been through. He let out a chuckle. Besides, with me being a talking philosopher's stone I don't really need all the power that you provide. I couldn't control most of it anyway. I don't need you for the healing either since that's handled too. I'd like an actual body though, Kyubi muttered miserably. Naruto and Akiza looked at her in confusion upon hearing that. Why would the Kyubi want a body? She was probably the strongest thing walking the planet when she was out and about. I want to be able to blend and hide. As long as I exist there will be a chance of someone else seeing me and using me for their own purposes again. It would be impossible to stay out of trouble in my true form. The look on Naruto's face told her that it wouldn't be a problem. You say that like I don't know what comprises a human body. I'll just pull some things together. The stone that is my body will take care of the rest and you'll have an actual body. When were you planning to do all of this? Akiza asked with her hands on her hips. Things were moving pretty fast. Naruto smiled over at her. I've been thinking of how to get Kyubi-chan out for a while. This is the singularly best way I've ever come up with. I could do this right now if I wanted to, but I have a better idea. Naruto's face turned rather dark at that. We're going to Ramegakure no Sato as soon as possible. Why? Akiza asked. Jiraiya told them both that there were rumors of that place being the true birthplace of the Akatsuki. That meant that if nothing else there were specks of that organization in the area. Because we can't go home and I want to finish this once and for all. Naruto said with nothing but a serious tone in his voice, and when I take Kyubi-chan out of my body everyone within 500 miles is going to feel it. We're going to have to fight no matter what. I'm putting an end to this once everything is all ready to go. One way or another it's going to finish. End flashback. And that's that. Naruto clone said, turning towards Joshiro with a serious look on his face. Boss isn't coming back, he isn't going to sit and wait for something else to happen. He's going to make his own moves and bring this whole Akatsuki beat to a close. A nod came from the white-haired alchemist at the clone's side. Hey, if you're a philosopher's stone then why do you still have auto mail? Wouldn't your wound have healed by now? Boss doesn't want it to heal. The clone elaborated, rubbing its metal shoulder. He says he still needs it. He doesn't want to heal it until all of this is over. So he's keeping it attached, making it so that there's no space for any of the souls to automatically heal him. That made sense. Naruto had been fighting with his auto mail for too long now to just cast it aside at a time like this. Luxuries like his real F&B arm could wait for a time when the world wasn't in the balance. Joshiro looked out over the peaceful countryside of Resemble. It made him wonder sometimes why he left the peaceful place all those years ago and decided to help out a kid with a fake right arm. Oh yeah, because there was just something about the brat that pulled him in and wouldn't let go. Just like with now. He simply didn't feel like letting go. He was his brother, his immortal, supercharged alchemically powered brother. And that was that. So does he have a timetable of when he's going to put all of this stuff to bed? Joshiro asked the clone, because from the sound of things he's sick and tired of everyone in the world's wait-and-see approach to handling these Akatsuki guys. Naruto clone nodded and stared at the metal that comprised its right arm. 6 months. It said with an air of complete and utter finality, 6 months after the day of our attack boss is going straight to Omegakure and he's going to finish this once and for all. By himself? Joshiro asked incredulously. The clone shook his head. No. He left a message once he realized what he was going to do. Joshiro blinked. A message. He left a message. Where? To who? To everyone. The clone said, it's a message to anyone that it matters to. And he left it in the one place that he knew everyone was going to look. He turned towards Joshiro. He wants Akatsuki to know what he's going to do. He wants them to try and stop him, because they can't touch him now. XXX. 2 days later, Iwagakure no Sato. The remnants of Team 7 stood on the cliffs overlooking the once great hidden village, staring down at something they couldn't believe. Sasuke couldn't help but put a small smile on his face once he got a good look at it. Well, that certainly explains whether or not he's still alive. It's an obvious yes. Sakura felt apprehensive as such a brazen statement like the one that Naruto made. He's serious about this, isn't he? This isn't any kind of joke. He means what he says, doesn't he? She asked, turning towards the Junin of the team. Kakashi-sensei, tell me he isn't serious about this. I can't do that, Sakura. Kakashi said, staring down with an unreadable look on his masked face. There's only one thing for us to do at this point. We can't find him because Pakken doesn't have his scent, and I don't think Naruto will be making any moves until that day. Sasuke nodded, his usual indifferent look on his face. Well, all that leaves is for us to make sure we're all ready, because there's no way I'm letting that idiot run off and fight a damn war on his own again. He said as he turned around to leave, heading back towards Konoha. Sakura, we've got to get to work and make sure we're ready for this. Team 7 doesn't fight alone. He said without turning around. Sakura nodded and began to walk off as well, leaving Kakashi as the last man staring down at the Iwa ruins. We'll definitely be there, Naruto. He said to no one in particular, I swear it, you can count on us. He let out a laugh, and the entire world is probably going to be watching. You certainly don't do anything halfway, do you? Kakashi-sensei, let's go before we run into any trouble. The sound of Sakura's voice broke him from his reverie. I guess we'll see you soon enough, Naruto. He said, turning to vacate the area as well. XXX. Elsewhere, a pair of cloaked figures stood on another cliff overlooking the scene. So are we going to go after the Matachi-san? Kisame said, grinning in his shark-like manner. No, we're not kiss him. Itachi said, looking across the great divide at someone that could not see him, nor knew he was even there. We'll see them in due time. I'll be waiting eagerly to see you one more time, little brother. XXX. How interesting, Kabuto. Orochimaru said in his fashion as he read the message on the ground below him. Naruto-kun's got a little more power to him than I thought at first. Kabuto tilted his glasses up on his face. Indeed, Orochimaru-sama. But what does this mean? Orochimaru let out his usual dark laugh as his mind flitted with the possibilities. It means that very soon most of the thorns in my side will be plucked out, dear Kabuto. It makes me want to go and watch the proceedings myself. It's sure to be a grand event. Very entertaining indeed, Orochimaru-sama. Kabuto agreed with a rather sick grin. It should be interesting to say the least. I'm intrigued. XXX. From the air, atop a clay bird, Deodara couldn't help but laugh to himself at what he was flying over. This is just too much. I mean, this is just outrageous, He stopped laughing long enough to wipe a tear from his eye. I have to wonder, was all of this just to send a message like this though? On the ground, taking up a massive scope of what was once the village of Awagakure no Sato, carved deep into the earth was a simple message that anyone who saw could immediately comprehend. 6 months, 12:29. Omegakure no Sato. Akatsuki. I love it. Deodara exclaimed from his place in the air. He just called out Leader-sama. I may not be a fan of calligraphy, but even I can appreciate art like this. XXX. As Zetsu sank himself back into the ground of the room after delivering the needed information, a shadowy figure walked out onto the cloudy ledge of his massive tower overlooking the entire village of Omegakure. So the strongest Jinchuriki is going to stop running and confront me himself, is he? A man with orange hair, an Akatsuki cloak, and piercings all through his face asked rhetorically as 5 more be of varying shape and size, all sharing the same piercings, appeared behind him. I hope you are prepared, little Jinchuriki, because on this promised day, you will have delivered yourself to the hands of God. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.